Okay, so as I was saying, my name is Juan Luis Salinas. I work for Cluster Consulting. Next, please. We are a Brazilian consulting firm with over 10 years experience working with clusters, value chain sectors, and innovation systems. Next, please. In multiple Brazilian regions, but also in different Latin American countries such as Peru, Dominican Republic, and Ecuador. Next, please. We work on many industries, but over 60% of our projects have been related to the food sector. Next, please. And we're normally hired by national and regional governments, national development agencies, organizations, and multilateral institutions. For example, the United Nations Development Program. Next, please. And next, please, so that it appears. There are some effects. So it is precisely the UNDP that hired us to develop a strategy for sustainable and deforestation-free Amazonian cocoa from Ecuador. And now some of you might be wondering what is the connection between cocoa sustainability, Ecuador, and the Amazon. So I'm going to give you some context before starting. Please go back. So the first thing you need to know is that the regular chocolate we normally eat has had a negative impact. The production of cocoa, its main ingredient, has been related to different issues such as deforestation and child slavery. But luckily, this has begun to change in the past years. The second important thing to know is that cocoa is considered a commodity and its price is set in international markets. So that means that producers cannot control the price, which makes them vulnerable to market fluctuations, which at the same time encourages them to expand production areas, which causes deforestation. So this logic has a negative impact. Ecuador is also the third largest exporter of cocoa in the world, and it represents around 10% of total exports. And it's the main fine flavor cocoa exporter, which is a type of cocoa that is comprised of different varieties that distinguish themselves for its flavor notes. And it's different from bulk or ordinary cocoa. Please go back. And well, only 7% of Ecuador's cocoa production comes from the Amazonian region, where there are 50,000 smallholder farmers that produce cocoa. So this means that there's an opportunity and a necessity to develop the sector in a sustainable way. Next, please. So our challenge was to identify and analyze international demand for sustainable and deforestation-free Amazonian cocoa in order to develop market-based recommendations that guide cocoa producers' actions and also the related institutions, so that smallholder Amazonian cocoa producers can earn a living income while at the same time preserving the environment. So the first thing, please go to the next slide. It's okay. So the first thing we did in this project was we visited the Amazon to speak with the main producer associations and learned about the different varieties of cocoa they produce, their production methods, their current volumes, who they sell to, which are their main challenges, and what capabilities do they have. And there are some pictures of our trip in the middle of the Amazon. Next, please. And once we had understood the Amazon's reality, we went on to interview over 40 national and international cocoa buyers from all across the value chains. We spoke with cocoa traders, cocoa grinders, which are the processors that obtain cocoa liquor, and also chocolate makers who process cocoa beans by themselves. So basically, we covered the whole value chain. But the companies we interviewed also belong to 4 different business segments, each of which has a different cocoa purchasing criteria and different understandings of what sustainability means. So we had the commodity segment that purchases cocoa based on price, high volume, available, and basic quality standards, and does not value sustainability that much. There's the certified commodity segment that purchases cocoa with internationally recognized certification, and it actually pays premiums according to those certifications. But they still make decisions based on price and volume, value, quality, and they demand a traceability to know where the cocoa came from. The fine flavor cocoa is very interesting because its main purchasing criteria is quality, defined as flavors, consistency, and fermentation, But they also require certifications such as organic and fair trade, organic in the US and fair trade mainly in Europe, or they have their own sustainability programs to work with cocoa farmers. Traceability and transparency is more important here in this segment, and they tend to pay between 10 and 35% more over the commodity price. And finally, the premium segment, its main criteria for purchasing cocoa is quality, defined as clean, defined and unique flavors from native and national varieties that have no defects at all, with a perfect fermentation and an organic production. And they have this comprehensive understanding of what sustainability means. They value exclusiveness. They value that cocoa has won awards in small batches, and they practice direct trade. This is where most of the small and awarded bean-to-bar chocolate companies belong. So before going to the next slide, one big conclusion we learned about sustainability in this industry is that sustainability by itself won't mean better prices paid for the producer unless it goes along with quality cocoa. But quality is effectively a differentiating factor that will help producers to get over prices, but only if it comes with quality. Okay, next, please. So our first finding that was that in the certified commodity segment, sustainability means making sure that cocoa production does not generate a negative impact, mainly on the environment, but also on farmers. And certifications like Rainforest Alliance and UTC are the normal standard. And this is a growing segment, and most of bulk and commodity cocoa will become certified cocoa because that's the sustainability trend in the industry. We believe this will be the minimum rule in the near future. Next, please. We also found out that, next, please, that in the fine cocoa segment, sustainability goes beyond not having a negative impact, but it is rather understood as having a positive social and environmental impact. No, go to the previous one, please. In the environmental aspect, they demand organic certifications, and they work with agroforestry systems that increase productivity at the same time they biodiversity. And some of these companies have their own sustainability programs and different standards. And in the social aspect, they demand fair trade certifications, but most pay producers a fair price and prefer to work with the smallholder producers. So, and there's a great opportunity here because there's limited supply of fine flavor organic cocoa. Next, please. In the premium segment, sustainability is having a significant and positive social impact by establishing direct relations with producers and cooperatives in environmental hotspots. They cut out intermediaries to establish direct relations with producers to work together with them to improve quality and productivity, but also to preserve and conserve protected areas through high impact projects. They pay fair prices that do not depend on the commodity price, that guarantee producers can make a living income, and that incentivize them to respect the environment. Obviously, most of the cocoa purchased by this segment is organic, though certification is not mandatory. But the main issue with this segment is that it's really small and there's an oversupply. So finally, please go to the next slide. And finally, what we identified is that there is a market opportunity to position Ecuador's Amazon as a quality and sustainable cocoa producer. But for the production to be economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable, it must have a good productivity and prices, giving farmers the conditions to make an adequate income. Because price premiums will only be paid if there is a differentiation in the product, and it must be through quality, sustainability, and other attributes. Next, please. Specifically, we must target the fine and premium segment for Europe, the USA, and some Asian countries. And when it's not possible to sell in these segments, the objective is to sell as a certified commodity with a good standard of quality. All of this shows that a market-based strategy can help to foster sustainable production in a territory. Can you, next please? Next please. And just if you want to know, next please. If you want to know a little bit more about the project, we wrote an article that was published by the World Cocoa Foundation, and you're more than welcome to check it out. And if you have any doubts, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juan Luis. I'm taking over the moderation as initially finally.